Welcome to the Hot Seat Interview. I'm your host, Maggy Martinez, where we go beyond campaign slogans and ask the questions voters deserve to have answers. Today, we are turning our attention to Georgia's 8th Congressional District, a diverse district stretching across Middle and South Georgia, where voters are concerned about the economy, healthcare, education, infrastructure, veterans, our farmers, national security, immigration, and the future of their communities. Our guest today is Dr. Kelly Esti, the Democratic nominee for the United States House of Representatives in the U.S. Congress District 8. Dr. Estes brings to the table a plethora of experience. He's a Navy veteran, an educator, a scholar, and a small business owner who says he wants to bring a different approach in leadership to Washington. But winning the Democratic nomination is only the first step. He's now challenging Republican Congressman Austin Scott in a district where Democrats face a difficult road in the general election. So today we want to know who's Dr. Kelly Esti, what does he believe, what will he actually do in Congress, and perhaps most importantly, why should the voters of Georgia 8th Congressional District choose him to represent them in Washington? So let's dive in.
Present Starbound Studios starring Maggy Martinez and the Hot Seat Interview. Y ahora con ustedes, Maggy Martinez.
Well, Dr. Kelly Esti, welcome to the Hot Seat Interview.
Thank you, Maggie, for having me. This is about to get hot.
Doctor, this is about to get hot because the people of your Congressional District 8 are suffering. Yes. Definitely, that's a good thing. In terms of that, we are going to talk about how can we resolve all these problems in your district. Dr. Esti, you are a Navy veteran, educator, scholar, a small business owner, but you have never served in Congress. So you're asking voters to replace an experienced incumbent. Beyond being Democratic alternative, what makes Kelly Esti qualified to represent Georgia's 8th Congressional District?
Hey, Maggie, thank you for asking me that question. Again, I'm Dr. Kelly Esti, and I am the Democratic nominee for Georgia's 8th Congressional District. Along with all of those things, I do have legislative experience as well. I have helped to create a city called South Fulton.
Oh.
And that is a city that took about 3 years. It went through the state legislature, county government, and also creating the city government for the city. We had to work closely with who's our current governor nominee, Keisha Lance Bottoms, because she was part of the Atlanta part or adjacent to that.
Right.
So we ended up creating a city of about 106,000 people, and currently it's about 113,000, and the budget for it is about $431 million. That was done legislatively. I've also been part of one of the largest civil rights organizations here in the state of Georgia called Georgia Equality. And we were able to push back legislation that would have opened the door for discrimination in the state of Georgia. That was done back in 2015, and we've taken those opportunities to limit the harm that a lot of Republicans wanted to do to fellow Georgians. The next thing is I've served in the military. Austin Scott can't say that. I'm a Navy veteran, and I studied nuclear power in the Navy, so Austin Scott can't necessarily say that because he's not a vet. And the one thing that I do plan on bringing to the district that he is not is communication, because right now the 8th Congressional District is underserved when it comes to town halls or any sort of communication from their congressmen. And that is one thing that I definitely want to change going forward and being their next congressperson.
Yes, because they think once they get to Congress, they don't communicate with the community. And the problem is, you're in Washington, but people over here don't see what you're doing over there. Exactly. Only if they go, I guess, to their website and things like that. Well, I wrote a book. It's called The Secrets of Campaigning, So You Think You Could Run. It's only $25 in Amazon. It helps the show to continue the conversation, right, Dr. Kelly?
Absolutely.
Because if we don't receive donations, we cannot buy all this expensive equipment to make it happen. But buy it for who? People that are running for office. Buy it for your daughters to develop leadership. Or buy it for yourself so you understand what a candidates go through, right? Because
Absolutely.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Oh, well, and don't forget to do what? To subscribe to the channel. And tell all your friends to subscribe to the channel, because this is how the algorithm of YouTube works. So it's important that you share it with everybody that you know. And we bring the best of the best. We're talking today with Dr. Kelly Esti. He's running for U.S. Congress District 8. So this is a very, very important interview for you to know exactly what he thinks and what he brings to the table. Well, Georgia 8th Congressional District has historically been difficult territory for Democrats. You won the Democratic nomination. So what is your path to victory? Which voters must you persuade, and why should independents and Republicans really look into you?
Okay. The short answer to that is yes, because previously, before Austin Scott, it was held by a Democrat. And we have the numbers, especially in the district, because we have been talking to a lot of our voters that have been largely ignored by the current congressman. And that means that I've started the process of going to all 29 counties of the district and actually talking directly to people, something which seems to be unheard of, from a congressional candidate in the 8th, because I'm going to a lot of areas where they have not seen a congressional candidate before. So getting out there and actually talking to people and creating advocates in the district, because that's something that I've prided myself on, is creating advocates in each county. This is why I prided myself on going to each county, because people want to see their congressional person represented. Right. So, and the only way that I can do that and understand their needs is to actually talk to them. And that's something that their current congressman has not done. He has not done a great job in any of those things.
It is important that people know how important it is for you to win this election, because we need people out there that can really make decisions for us. Mm-hmm. Right now, Congress is what? Like an impasse, right?
It's
Nothing is happening. People are struggling and communicating with them, but they can't do anything because they dominate. The Republican dominates the Congress.
It does. And one of the things that I've kind of talked to a lot of Republicans are, because a lot of Republicans in the district are not seeing the things that Republicans have been promising to them.
Interesting.
And a lot of voters, Republican voters specifically, are not even seeing their congressman at all. So he's kind of they feel like that he only sees certain people in the district. And for me, I have to represent everyone in the district.
Everyone.
Not just
everyone. Once you
Democrats.
are elected, you represent
everyone.
Certainly, you have to abide by the bylaws of the Democratic Party of Georgia and
Absolutely.
their platform, but still you are representing everyone. And that's what we needed. A person that could speak without what? No retribution and no fear, because right now, I don't know what's going to happen. Well, your district is the place for Robins Air Force and Moody Air Force Base, and you're also a Navy veteran. And veterans are struggling, but where do you draw the line between maintaining a strongest military in the world, preventing America from becoming involved in conflicts that do not directly serve our national security? And you know what happened in Congress, and you know what happened with the present administration, Donald Trump, and this is not good.
Exactly. So we have to define what a strong military is. Now, when I look at military, I think of defense. I don't think of us going to countries and bombing them or killing fishermen with our military. That's not something that our military was designed for. So when we're talking about an intelligent military budget, it has to be in line with our goals and our needs of defense, but we also have to make sure that we have the capabilities and the tools that we need to maintain our defense. Right now, we have a very bloated military budget. $1.5 trillion is a lot to ask of the American public.
$1.5 trillion.
Right, trillion, not billion.
Trillions. Oh my God.
And we far outspend most countries on the planet. So having a $1.5 trillion budget is not going to make us any safer. It just makes us bullies. And so at some point, we have to figure out, how do we spend military, or how do we use our military dollars strategically, and how do we ensure that we are protecting American lives on top of it? And we don't necessarily want to run to conflicts, because the last conflict since I've been alive, since 1980, all had to deal with oil. And Did the American public get richer from those wars? No, we did not. Only certain people got richer from those wars. And I don't believe in taking our military to make certain ones of us richer. And right now we have a budget, we have a military that can't even account for, they can't even pass an audit in the last several years. And so where is that money going? So we're just washing it to our military and in hopes that they protect us. Because if you look at what's happening, like even one of the carriers that are deployed in Iran, we have sailors that are starving. We have sailors that are living in unsanitary conditions. But we're spending.
It has been too many months.
Right.
President Trump promised this to be finished in 2 weeks.
Exactly. And so now we're at the 6-month level. We've spent over $100 billion, and what do we have to show for it? We have higher gas prices and a less safe America. For me is we need to right-size our military and ensure that we protect the families and the civilians that work for the military, because Warner Robins and Moody is still very integral to our protection. And we need to make sure that we're protecting what we have, but we're not giving money to technocrats that want to continue to promote war as a way of gaining money. So part of me is just that we have to right-size our military spending and making sure that we're protecting our veterans and our civilians as well.
Protecting our veterans, that's not happening, but
Yeah.
you know how it is. Well, healthcare in the rural, healthcare is a major thing. Some counties to go to a primary, what we call first aid hospital, like is Pittman Hospital in Stockbridge, is not available. And what a specific federal healthcare policy will you support?
So I support a universal healthcare system, one in which we're bearing the cost of it. We turn it into a public good. Basically, it's borne by the taxpayers. That way we are saving our hospitals in our rural areas, because my district is mainly rural. And I have probably 2 hospitals that are slated to close soon. And that's worrisome to me, because then those people in those areas now have to travel further to get health care. And one of the commitments that I'm really happy about what Keisha said is that she wants to expand Medicaid day one. Of course, I'd have to partner with our stakeholders in expanding Medicaid, but also ensuring that now we have a federal system where our health care is universal, to where people are not worried whether or not if they're going to lose their job, or I'm going to lose my health care, or I can't take care of my child because they're sick. And if I lose my job, I'm going to lose my health care. So I think we're going to take a lot of anxiety out of worrying about that if we, move on the path of universal health care like most other industrialized countries. That's what people don't realize. We're the only system where we want people to profit from it. And I don't believe personally that you should profit from things like healthcare or private prisons or utilities. Those things they're needed by the entire public. Everybody has to use them. So why not just spread out the cost and make sure that everyone pays for it, since we're all using it? So I think those are the ways that we can mitigate the problems that my district is now experiencing, specifically because they're losing hospitals and they're also losing access to care as well. So
if you travel the world like I have done, you go to Costa Rica, everybody has health insurance.
Right.
There are many countries, they provide health insurance for the whole population, and then they don't lack of one of the most important things, that is healthcare.
Right.
Well, education, Georgia is not doing too well with education. The KBE is so old, but what should federal government role in education actually be?
So I'm so for the federal role is that I believe the government has to do 2 things, right? It needs to ensure that schools have funding, but also needs to set a level of standards where we have educational cohesiveness amongst our states. Beyond that is the federal government's role. So that means that we're, helping mitigate the funding issues across states, because we know that some states are not as economically advanced as other states, so we kind of mitigate that across the board. But when it comes to getting more parents and that's usually still at the local level.
Yes.
And parents and voters have to understand that your board members, your school board members drive a lot of your education in the states locally. That maintains that local control.
But it's important that we go back and reestablish the Department of Education.
Absolutely.
And put somebody there that knows what they're doing.
And then plus also
we're not going to paddle no kids.
No. Because what I also believe about education is that there shouldn't be any financial barriers when it comes to public education. Because if we're asking people to better themselves and create opportunities for others, they can't necessarily do that if they are burdened with debt from being educated. So a lot of the things that I believe in is that education should also be a public good, where we all pay for it, because it helps to establish and create a better economy for all of us, because you have people that would create opportunities for themselves, but they would also create opportunities for others. And education is one of the keys to do that, and we've proven that over and over again.
Education is everything.
Right, but we've allowed Republicans to continue to slash our budgets, which now they're trying to slash the property taxes, which fund education. And I've cautioned people against that, because let's look at what's happening in Indiana. Now they're having to cut their buses because they don't have any money.
And now they're giving money to vouchers for schools that are private.
Right. So again, education policy in the country needs to be a lot better than what it is now, and a lot of that is really funding and access. So,
well, affordability, groceries, housing, insurance, healthcare, utility, and the cost of gas is skyrocketing. So, how do you will improve wages to see if we could tackle this, because the other way around is not happening?
Right. So, with the universal healthcare system, you can take a lot of the burden from our small businesses, and that way the cost would go down for them. That way they can focus more on employee payment and retention, because a lot of businesses are scared of healthcare costs when it comes to their employees.
Right.
And so if we can take a lot of that from those businesses so that they can thrive better, and in turn they'll pay their employees more, especially if we set a higher level of minimum wage, because we haven't adjusted that in about 20 or 30 years. So people have to be able to live as well too.
Minimum wage is not making it.
It's not, and a lot of it is that people are still on assistance when companies that they work for are getting these big bloated profit, and trying to understand the fact that, especially a place like Walmart, they have employees that are on public assistance, but they make billions of dollars each year.
Right.
So it's like, well, you have the money and the means to pay your employees a livable wage, but you just choose not to do so.
No, they're making profit. That's
exactly.
it. That's all they care.
And so the government, for me, has a responsibility to ensure that people can live, right? Whether or not if we're helping them with education, healthcare. Because what I believe is that you have to have a healthy and an educated public in order to have a productive public.
That's right.
And if we don't have those things in place, then we're going to keep devolving into where we are today. Because that's what Republicans have wanted. They want us to devolve into a nation that's divided. So, and if we're busy yelling at each other, we can't focus on things like groceries and housing. Because even saying that, what we're doing in the Middle East now is also raising prices, because now we're raising gas prices, which is connected to all of these things. And so we're every choice that we've made over the last several years have directly affected what we're going through today. And it's just, and your president is a big part of that.
My president? Oh, no.
The president is a big part of that.
You see what I'm talking about? We bring the best of the best to the hot seat interview. This is Dr. Kelly Esti. He's running for U.S. Congress District 8, and he brings to the table a plethora of experience. And Navy SEAL, we call it the Navy SEAL, right? Something like that.
No, I was a nuke.
Yeah. But anyway, broadband and infrastructure in the rural Georgia if elected, what are the first 3 infrastructure priorities you will have for Georgia 8th Congressional District?
Glad you asked that, because as I've traveled the district, and
I know. For this one, we need a whole show.
I know, right? So I've traveled the district quite extensively, and one of the big things is that we have information deserts in the district. Still in 2026, we still have information deserts where people can barely get good working internet,
And internet now is everything.
Yes, internet now is everything. Imagine how much stuff is tied to internet, and we have people that are still barely getting it. One of the big things that I would love to do is, of course, expand broadband, because in order for people to create opportunities for themselves, I'm big on that, is that we have to supply the tools for them to do so. And internet is a big tool for them to do so, because that way you can create online businesses, do things like this in these areas that are information deserts.
And not only that, since we don't have hospitals in certain counties, what about telehealth?
Exactly.
But without internet, we can't do telehealth. You
can't do those things.
Yeah.
And this is, there lies in the problem, because now a lot of our areas are still left behind, 10, 20 years because of just not having access to reliable internet. The other one of the things is the Georgia Intrastate train. So this is the
train is coming. The train is coming. Yeah. Remember this, Dr. Kelly Esti is going to bring the train to Georgia. Oh, my God, that's amazing.
So I would love to bring what I call the GET, basically. And this is a comprehensive transportation plan that connects all of our cities and a lot of our rural areas to one another. That way, if we have information deserts, people now have access to actually move.
That's right.
And also, it would have us to not concentrate growth in the cities as much, because then people will have options to actually live out in those rural areas and commute to the city instead of actually living in the city. And so, this would also help healthcare, because now those rural areas have access and connectivity to those to doctors in like Augusta or Atlanta, specialists. So the train would bring a lot of growth to the state, but it would also bring a lot of access for our rural areas that don't have it currently, especially when it comes to healthcare and also access to opportunities. So yes.
Yes, the train, if we go to Spain, it's amazing how Spain has this. I got pictures. I should put some pictures out there, because it's amazing. How can you get from Madrid to Segovia to Sevilla? It's incredible. And not only that, put a scenario, for example, if a child has a fever and there's no access to a hospital, in a train, fast.
Can get you there pretty quick.
Right, very quick. And remember, Dr. Esti Kelly, the train is coming.
Yes, and the last thing is expanding more green technology in rural areas, because if we have a situation where, we've had like a large storm, like Michael, or, people think about the bounce back that could occur with solar energy as opposed to being connected to Georgia Power or whatever the local electrical companies are. And especially as we have issues with the data centers, because data centers are, driving up costs for everyday Georgians.
Data center, we will need a whole show to talk about data center.
Exactly. So, but if we introduce green energy as an alternative to a lot of those areas that are not connected, think about the downtime that they have, and when it comes to the lights being off, because a lot of these families are far away from grocery stores, so they have these big, huge freezers that they keep food in. So imagine if you're down for 2 or 3 days, all of that goes bad. And now you're being set back because you don't have power.
Especially with meat in the prices now.
Exactly. So, I think it's something that we have to kind of get more creative with when it comes to reducing costs for everyday Georgians. And something like that could reduce a lot of costs for Georgia.
And not only that, green energy related to data center, then nobody will have the problem that we're having right now, the water contamination, the humming, and all these things that are data. We need the data centers, but we should not have data centers contaminating the air or the water. And that's something to be seen. We don't know yet what will be the repercussion of that. We don't know the damage that will bring. So,
Right.
yeah. Well, immigration at the border, doctor, the inhumane treatment to people, what is happening. They promise they will only deport the criminals. Now we're seeing not only they're deporting the criminal and non-criminal, and they're killing our U.S. citizens like we are the Gestapo, So the thing is, this is a big concern. We know we have to protect our borders. There's no doubt about it. But what comprehensive immigration reform mean to you?
So comprehensive, because here's the one thing that we have to understand about immigration is that immigration is required for us to have, because if we want to continue our economic growth, we have to have some sort of immigration policy where people can come here and, create the opportunity and lifestyle that they want. A lot of times they create opportunities for other people. So we have to have a robust immigration program. Now, before civil rights, we had open borders.
That's right.
Right? Because they, remember what was inscribed on the Statue of Liberty's foot, right? Bring us your poor, your tired, and all that stuff. We had open. Nobody had any problems when the borders were open because they only allowed certain people in. But now that the borders are open to everyone, suddenly we need closed borders.
Yes.
And so a lot of the talk about immigration is driven by racism. Let's be very clear about that.
It is clear. At this point,
it's driven by
clear.
racism. It's very clear. And so an open border exists between Alabama and Georgia. That's an open border. What exists between Mexico and the United States is not an open border, because you have to have a passport. You have to have a reason to be here. If you're going between Mississippi and Georgia, you don't need any of those things, right? So the concept of an open border is a fallacy in itself, because Republicans lie. Let's be very clear. They like to lie. So I think that we need a robust immigration plan that if people here are legal and they're contributing and they're not here causing any crime, give them a pathway to citizenship. Because if they're already paying taxes, that means they're either creating opportunities for others or somebody's already given them an opportunity.
That's right.
So, and now they're a tax-paying person here. So now we should say, okay, well, great. So let's now make you a citizen. Let's
and
give you a
our
pathway.
farmers need help.
Exactly. And so when we're cutting ourselves off through isolationist isolationist stuff, or I'm trying to remember the word, hold on. Isolationist policies. That's what I was trying to find. So
Thank you.
I'll start up. So when we go through and create isolationist problems or policies for our country, we cut ourselves off from economic activity.
That's right.
And we see it happening to farmers, because now farmers are in a situation where they don't have work or they don't have the people, the workers
to harvest.
To harvest. And as I've driven through South Georgia, I still see a lot of fields that are unharvested. And so that means higher prices for us at the grocery store, because we want to have isolationist policies. The question now becomes, is it worth it?
That's the question.
Has Republican immigration policies in their current form, have they been worth it, is the question.
That is the question.
And so
that is the question.
People have to ask themselves that.
Yes, so civil rights and personal freedom. The question is, Dr. Esti, are we in a de facto dictatorship?
Yes, we are.
You believe that?
I believe that, because our right to speak has been restricted. We have police that are rounding up Americans and in some cases shooting them. We have political opponents being silenced. So yes, we're definitely in a de facto
Doctor, I
dictatorship.
had to get 2 lawyers to be protected. You believe that?
Yes.
To
Protect
protect
you from
freedom of speech. And I shouldn't need to do that.
I know.
You know,
because we're in a dictatorship, and a lot of our civil rights and our personal freedoms have been restricted, whether it's legally or whether it's people roving the streets, making Americans and our immigrants scared. So
it is not okay.
It's not okay.
I need to travel with my passport. Do you think that's okay?
No. No. But, and here's the other part too, though. America has played this song and dance before, where Black folks had to travel with their freedom papers. We've been here.
Yeah.
And this is something that we've tried
It
to avoid.
sounds like 30 years ago. Yeah.
Right. So we've tried to avoid this. But again, this is the Republican utopia. This is their dreamscape. And I want people to understand that this is as good as it gets with Republicans. You have high costs, you have high gas prices, you have no health care, zero investment in infrastructure, and people that do not care whether you eat tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so this is the Republican landscape. I need folks to understand that this is the best it's going to get. And Austin Scott and his big, beautiful bill ensured that all of the stuff that we're discussing here today is not accessible to Americans.
Do you think Republicans in your district agree with everything that is happening?
I don't think they do, especially with the gas prices. And a lot of Republicans have been burned by the gutting of U.S. aid, especially farmers, and also tariffs. That's something we didn't talk about, but tariffs are a detriment to farming because now you're placing forced barriers between them and their customers. And so what are their customers going to do? They're going to go somewhere else. And that is what's happening. And right now we're not moving. Countries aren't buying from us because they hate our president. And
the tariff.
Exactly. They don't. First of all, they don't want to pay the tariffs, but they also don't want to deal with our president. And one of the things that Congress really needs to focus on, the 120th Congress, is to mitigate the fallout from his presidency. And that means also probably impeaching him and getting rid of him, because even Iran now is stating that they do not want to deal with us until he's gone, which means the Strait of Hormuz stays closed. It stays closed, gas prices stay high because now the strategic reserve is being siphoned off. So again, we're not any more safer under this administration at all. And that means that we're sacrificing our personal freedoms, but we're also sacrificing our economic future.
Well, the question then is, are we better today than 2 years ago when he got elected?
Yeah, I think we're worse off.
We're worse off.
We're worse off because inflation has done an about face. It's heading back north. And our safety in the world has been diminished. And we have a president that does not play well in the sandbox. And we have countries that are washing their hands of us, which means that they're also selling our bonds, which is also helping prices.
That's another show. The bonds are that's another show.
We can talk about that too.
We're going to talk about the bonds. That will take for people to understand what's going on, because basically China on us. China on us.
And Japan.
Interesting, isn't it? But it is what it is,
Right.
But we need to do like 5 shows, Dr. Kelly, because this is
we
not
can have a lot to talk
enough
about.
time. But I know, Dr. Kelly, that you're going to bring those changes that we need in Congress. What will you do the first 100 days that you will be in office? And also look at the camera and tell the people of District 8 why they should vote for you.
Okay, the first 100 days, what I'd like to accomplish is to become an asset to my district, because then I have to learn all the nuances of the job, and to make sure that I can be better able to fulfill those requests that they're looking for. Because right now I have a lot of counties that need that congressional direct spending that they're not getting. And so that is one thing that I want to partner with my counties and understand their needs as well too. Making sure that I'm constantly communicating, because that is one thing that my district has not gotten in 10 years is that communication. And I want to also implement a series of councils like the Youth Congressional Council, and just so where I'm listening to the next generation, because a lot of these policies that I'm doing that I want to do, especially the GET, is for the next generation. And we have to make sure that they have an environment in which they can thrive and their bodies are healthy and their minds are educated so they can be productive. That is what I want to bring to the 8th Congressional District. And please visit my website, kellyestiforcongress.com.
Well, we spoke with Dr. Kelly Esti. Thank you for joining us on the Hot Seat interview.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this, and I'm glad we were able to have this discussion.
Definitely. This has been a great conversation. Don't forget to visit his website. And to our viewers, remember, democracy works best when voters are informed. So it's important that you visit his website and any other candidate's website to make sure that they bring to the table the necessary changes to improve what? The quality of life of all Georgians. This is Maggy Martinez, the Hot Seat interview. Until next time.